Welcome back, everyone. We're going to continue once more in English for the final part of tonight. And as I've already said 2 times, I was really looking forward to this, so I don't need to express anymore how grateful I am that Husam is here, but I'm going to do it anyway, so thank you. We're going to talk now about the work of an organization that has been doing quite some amazing work since a few years, actually. We're going to talk about Raqqa's being slaughtered silently and Husam's work for that. How are things going right now? What's going on in Syria right now? How do you look at developments there? How do you see the future of Syria? But also, what's the situation for Husam in Europe, since he had to flee Syria and is now, well, actually in Europe there, it's not that the threat is over, let's just say that. And before we do that, we're going to watch a short clip, and after that, Brenda Stoter Boscolo, who is an independent journalist who writes a lot about the Middle East, who also is writing, can I say that already, or is it still under embargo, your current? Yeah, she's writing a book about the Yazidis, which she spoke extensively to, and is also, well, I don't need to say how important the work is to bring the stories of Yazidi girls out there. So she's going to talk with Husam. But first, we're going to watch a clip of City of Ghosts, a film we screened last year when Husam was also here with some of his colleagues. And I think the trailer, it's quite an intense trailer, but I think it shows what the work is that Raqqa's being slaughtered silently is doing. Just to give you an idea of that. After that, there will be 2 more clips during the interview, and also there will be, again, a bit room for questions. So let's first see the trailer of the film, City of Ghosts.
في تهديد حاليا ضدي موجود على وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي على قناة تابعة لداعش بس دائما احنا نقول بالرقاوي الموت هي موت.
The men and women of Raqqa being slaughtered silently are real journalistic heroes. They work in secret and under constant threat, reporting on the depredations of ISIS in their home city. Some have fled in fear for their own lives. Even in exile, they are in no way safe.
يلي هو جهاز انترنت فضائي ممكن داعش انه تلقط الاشارات تبعه عن طريق سيارات.
كان لازم نسلط الضوء على مدينة ووقتها بالحقيقية بيننا وبين داعش.
بينشر صور على الانترنت باسمائنا وصور مأخوذة من شوارع بيوتنا.
أنا والد المدعو حمود محمد الموسى.
احنا انه عدموا والدنا واخونا مشان نوقف، نحن راح نكمل. اوعدك راح نكمل.
عم بيسألوا اذا بيشيل يوم جديد بالرقة.
وصلوا.
بالنسبة لنا ما بي أي مكان آمن بالعالم. It's not enough to expose the crimes of ISIS. We must also fight against their ideology.
تونا نعيش بحياة أحسن من حياتنا اللي عشناها. وعينا على الدنيا بالحرب.
Either we will win or they will kill all of us.
So, hi Husam. So thank you so much for being with us tonight to talk about your work for Raqqa's being slaughtered silently. We just watched the trailer, which I saw the movie last year already, and we also met back then. So let me start with a simple question. How are you doing?
It's working?
Yes, it's working, yeah.
I'm fine, and thank you to be here.
So, last year Raqqa was liberated from ISIS after a heavy battle. What were your thoughts when you first saw the news? What was your first reaction?
I was happy. In the first moment, like, I never imagined that gonna happen, that our city gonna liberated from ISIS. It was a really amazing moment for me, for a lot of people who's from Raqqa, who's living around Raqqa and stay around the city, and who's thought that they are gonna come back to their houses. But the problem is 80% from the city was destroyed.
Okay. Yeah, I saw some satellite images recently, and the city is still completely destroyed. Can you tell us something about the rebuilding process? Did it already start?
Actually, since a year, it's almost a year, Raqqa liberated from ISIS, but there is nothing. Like 80% from the city destroyed it, nothing happened. Only we had another group under another name, and I mean SDF, and they are trying to make their state in our city.
Okay. Yeah, so I already wanted to ask you about the tasks of Raqqa's being slaughtered right now, because first you were documenting ISIS crimes and like how life was like under the terror group. So can you tell us something about the main tasks right now of your group?
Our task is still the same. Like the name of the campaign is Raqqa is being slaughtered silently, and the city is still slaughtered silently. I mean, like, we still have the same group inside Raqqa. We're documenting the violations from SDF. We're documenting the names of people who got killed from the coalition and from ISIS. And we're trying to do the same work. I mean, information, news, photos, videos from inside.
So it's actually quite a sensitive subject, because the SDF is a coalition partner supported by the United States. Can you tell us something about these crimes of the SDF?
Actually, SDF is not ISIS, of course. They are not ISIS. They are not the same in somehow, but they are trying to do the same thing. I mean, ISIS was in Raqqa to make their state in Raqqa. And now SDF doing the same things. They are doing violations. They are forcing people to join their army. They are arresting a lot of people because they said their rights.
And this is something you hear from the people inside the city, right? Because you still have the same network as you had before.
Yes, our group still inside. We have a lot of reporters there in Raqqa. We are do the same work we did before.
And when I wrote on Twitter that I was going to interview you, there were some people who said, like, okay, Raqqa's being slaughtered silently is really anti-Kurdish. What are your thoughts on that?
Of course not. We believe like Syria is not only Arab, is not only like people who belong to one religion. We believe Syria for all as a group, and also we have Kurdish people working with us.
Okay. So can you tell us something about how you see the future for your city then? Do you think there are other options right now than the SDF?
I think right now there is no option. This is the big problem, because we have SDF as side, and we have Turkey, I mean, and also we have Assad.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Assad a little later. But you mentioned, because before we took the stage, you told me that you thought that maybe a civil council would be better inside the city.
Of course, civil council, people from Raqqa who lead their city.
Okay, yeah. And when you're talking about like ISIS and what they left behind, I know that Raqqa's being slaughtered silently always pointed out that you don't only need a military campaign to defeat ISIS, but you have to kill the ideology behind it. Can you tell us something about how the ISIS ideology is still alive inside the city?
Like, I'm gonna talk about another things, and I'll come back to ISIS.
Okay, good.
Like, for example, like we have Al Qaeda since 1980, in the world. They were in Afghanistan, they were in Somalia, they were in Yemen, and they are still. Like the coalition fighting them in Afghanistan, and they defeated in Afghanistan. There is no group from Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, but the ideology is still there. A lot of people believe that Al-Qaeda is still there. And this is what's happening inside Syria. A lot of people right now believe that ISIS will come back. Most of them are children who lived 4 years under ISIS control. And this is the big problem. Okay, we defeat ISIS, the coalition, thank you. Defeat ISIS with destroy the city and everything, okay, but, okay, we have a lot of people who believe in ISIS. And what comes after 2, 3, 4 years maybe?
Nobody knows, you think?
Yeah.
I understand that it must be like a very difficult task, but maybe you have some ideas on how you can change that. What can Raqqa's being slaughtered silently do, for example, to change that?
We are trying to make some workshops inside with mothers, with teachers, with civilians to let them know that there's another way. It's not only ISIS or SDF or Assad. There's a lot of ways to make our state. I mean, what the revolution want in the first days, like freedom, democracy, rights.
Okay. I think it's time for the first clip of the night, also from the documentary City of Ghosts. Let's all watch it.
أيها الإعلاميون المحاربون للإسلام ودولته بألسنتكم وأقلامكم اعلموا أن عملكم بالإعلام لا يعصم دماءكم فكفوا عن حربنا وإلا فإن مصير أبواق الردة والتي ذبحها جنود الخلافة بصمت
ذبحها بصمت. هذا فارس؟
لا أنا أجي على اليمين هنا إبراهيم. إيه.
ولا تظنوا أن وجودكم في أوروبا سيحميكم بسكين حاذقة برصاصة في الرأس فالقة سيكون هو مصيركم.
بس أختك.
أقول لك ليلة كاملة يعني ما قدرت أنام خالص. ماسك يعني أفكر إيه وبعدين طيب انقتل سرمد انقتل أغيد انقتل حسن انقتل محمد إيه وبعدين يعني صرت أتخيل جد نحن موجودين على الجزيرة وكل يوم نخسر واحد.
فكرة وألمانيا برأيك راح تكون آمنة جدا؟
حسين
آمن نسبيا
يعني أنا أشوف إنه إذا بدهم يوصلونا فهم يقدرون يوصلونا على أي مكان بالعالم يعني بصراحة.
يعني قاعد على أعصابك. أيوة تلفت أعصابي. صرت مشتهي موتة طبيعية.
So, yeah, I chose this particular scene because it really shows how severe the threats were against you. And I'm not only talking about Syria, but also in Turkey and in Europe. Many of your group members were killed, your families were targeted and also killed. And even in Europe, you had to live in safe houses. Can you tell us something about the threats against you and other members of the group right now?
There's still threats because some people, maybe here in Europe, believe in ISIS. So we still get a lot of messages on Twitter or on Facebook. They're threatening us that they said, okay, the Khilafat didn't end, we will come for you. The same situation, I mean, it's not like before.
Not as severe as before, yeah. So yeah, a little less, but still like significant. Okay. Well, recently you had to flee again, actually, from Germany to the Netherlands. And yeah, it sounds so bad, I know. And what was the reason that you had to flee again and to start your life all over again here in the Netherlands?
Actually, in 2015, I came to Germany. I tried to start a new life there. But last year, I get like threats. But it's not on Facebook, on Twitter. It's in the front of my apartment. So was my picture, and wrote on it like, you will be killed soon. So that's why I moved to Netherlands, but I tried to start a new life here, but I hope I can do it here.
Do you feel safe over here? Maybe more safe than in Germany?
Yes, I feel safe here more than Germany. There is a lot of reasons.
Maybe you can share some of the reasons with us.
For example, like in Germany, there is a lot of people, like refugees, maybe not, but I feel like there is more people support ISIS or believe in the ideology in Germany. So this is one of the reasons. Yeah.
And yeah, how do you see the future then, when it comes to that for Germany, for example? What can Germany do, like to?
I think it's up to them. So they can like trying to find those people, because it's not only people who believe in ISIS and believe in this ideology. The problem is also like there is a lot of people support the regime, the dictator in Syria.
Yeah.
And those are like danger, like ISIS. They are not different from them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the regime later because I have a special clip for that. So, well, lately there has been a lot of discussion here in the Netherlands, but also in other countries in Europe, about what you should do with the foreign fighters who would like to return to their home countries. What do you think about that? Do you think they pose a threat to Europe in the future?
Of course, like everyone was with ISIS in Syria, he is a threat here in Netherlands, in Europe, and he is a criminal. Because here, for example, there's some people who come back from Syria and Netherlands, and they let them go to their houses. So it's only like to talk to them. Did you do something? Did you kill anyone? And he said no.
So yeah. Because you're talking about, wait, I have to get this right, because you're talking actually from people who are coming from Syria and then go back to their own countries. No. Or the other way around, you mean, right?
No, I'm talking about
the foreign fighters, okay.
People who's really from Netherlands, or who were born from Netherlands and go to Syria to fight with ISIS and then come back after ISIS and in Raqqa.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, then we're talking about the same thing. So I recently read a report that from the Pentagon, actually, that the number of ISIS fighters still in Syria and Iraq is significantly higher than previously estimated, like between 20,000, 31,000, something like that. What do you think? Are those kind of people going to rebuild a new group or something and then start a new caliphate?
I think so, but not only those people, because as I told you, like the ideology is still, and the children have this ideology, and after 4 or 5 years, maybe 1 year, like we will see another group, and they will be more than ISIS.
And it's also maybe because you mentioned that the services are not working over there, like there are no houses, no jobs, like.
Yeah, this is what ISIS used it before when they're. Oh my God.
Take a breath.
Sorry, my English.
No, your English is good. Just continue.
I learned by YouTube, so sorry. When ISIS was in Raqqa, they used a lot of things to let people join them. Like they said, everyone against Muslim people. So if you didn't join us, they will kill you any time. So if you join us or not, you will die. But if you join us, you will go to the heaven and everything will be okay. You have like 17 slaves. I don't know how can I say it.
Versions.
Yeah, this is it. So this is one. And also what ISIS is trying to use it right now. Like they are writing in their channels and their like groups on Telegram, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, they are saying, okay, you are not with us, so look what's happening in Raqqa. The coalition destroyed the city, and SDF right now control the city and pushing your children to join them. Are you happy now?
So let's talk a little bit about the future of Syria. But first we're going to watch a clip also from the movie City of Ghosts. Let's watch it.
The lesson we learned in Raqqa is that when one group falls, another will rise in its place. People want freedom and safety, and when they live in a world that is neither free nor safe, they are vulnerable to any group that promises them prosperity. Bombs will not fix this. Getting rid of ISIS will not fix this. We must create a government that speaks for the people. Thank you.
So, as a journalist, I've been following Raqqa's being slaughtered silently since RBSS, since it was formed. And one of the things I noticed was that you guys really stood up against the Assad regime in the beginning. I'm talking about 2011, 2012, and also after the group was formed in 2014. You documented war crimes. But however, I had the feeling that the audience didn't pay as much attention to that as the crimes of ISIS did. So what was the reason for that?
First, we still against Assad as a group and as a lot of Syrians. I think because the government's trying to put civilians in that position. So they are trying to focusing on ISIS, what ISIS can do, what's happening here in Europe, for example, in Paris, in Brussels. This is what ISIS did. So Assad is not a danger for Europe. And also what Assad did, he used ISIS as a weapon. He said to the international community, okay, in Syria you have two choices. One of them is me and the other is ISIS. So your choice.
He actually said that from the beginning of the Syrian revolution.
Like first days of the revolution in 2011, no one have guns. It was really demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations, no weapons, for 6 or 7 months. And from the first moment, the regime said those people are terrorists, those people supporting Al Qaeda, and this took.
Yeah, well, after 7.5 years of war, Assad is taking back all the strongholds one by one. And at the moment, the battle for Idlib is ongoing, and it's only a matter of time, I think, before he takes control of that city as well. So, yeah, how do you see the future for Syria with Assad still being there?
I think, as before, there is no future in Syria when Assad is still in his position. So Assad still the president. He will kill more people. For now, 7 years, we have lose more than 1 million civilians. Here in Europe, 1 million. A lot of refugees outside Syria. There is a lot of cities destroyed because of Assad won't stay on his chair.
But doesn't it frustrate you that the international community is shifting more towards Assad? For example, that Assad is the person who should be there because there are only extremists left. That's what people say.
Yeah, this is the main problem, because when the revolution started in the first 2 or 3 months, the international communities do nothing. Even there is no guns. And after that, when people trying to fight for their lives, no one do think. So after that also, and now we have Al Qaeda, we have ISIS, we have a lot of thousands of groups, and they said, okay, there is no one but Assad.
Do you still think there's a political solution instead of a military solution? Like that Assad can be replaced by someone else?
With Russia and Iran, no. There is no political solution. They know only one solution: destroy the cities, force people to join them or support them.
So, but there are a lot of refugees in other countries. Will they ever return if Assad is still there?
I don't think so.
Do you hear reports that they're actually returning, or
I hear people who are already supporting Assad and came here and they're coming back, for vacation in Syria, and they're coming back here. Even people who support Assad, they come here. So why is that? Because there is really no life under Assad control.
And when you talk about your own city, Raqqa, what should be done to restore the security over there? To make it more safe?
I think the good solution for Raqqa is to be under civil council, people from Raqqa who lead their city, without SDF, without any militias, any weapons groups. I mean, okay, there is no ISIS right now in Raqqa, so let civilians lead their city. Why, army is still there?
Did you ever try to talk, because I know that the members of Raqqa is being slaughtered silently, they travel the whole world. So did you ever try to talk to, for example, American generals or politicians about this?
I was in 2015 in the United States, and I talked, my colleagues and we talked to a lot of people in the United States government, and we told them, you support SDF, you support UBJ. It was UBJ, there was no SDF at that time. And they said, no, we didn't support them, we're trying to fight ISIS only. And we said, okay, you have to fight ISIS, but in the other hand, you have to fight Assad too. But they said, no, we are focusing on ISIS.
Okay. Yeah, but that will be a big problem in the future, I think, if the people of Raqqa don't support the SDF.
Actually...
or are there people supporting this? You have a bigger network than me over there, so...
No, of course there's people from Raqqa support SDF, but, for example, there are around 15 or 20%, like people who support ISIS before. Every city, every country has people support ideology. For example, I told you, here in Netherlands, there's people believe in the ideology, support ISIS.
What kind of ideology are you talking about when you talk about the SDF then? Because what I read in the news is that it's a combination of Arab fighters and also a lot of Kurdish fighters. Yeah,
the problem is not between Arab and Kurds. The problem is the ideology of SDF. SDF believe there is a god called Abdullah Öcalan, and you cannot talk anything about him, you cannot say anything against him. So this is the same. When ISIS was there, you cannot say anything against al-Baghdadi. So it's the same. I mean, they have their ideology to make their state, and they have their ideology to teach children how to be fighters.
Because you actually heard that people are being forced to join your army.
Since 15th of October last year, more than 3,000 people got arrested and forced to join the army.
And this is something Raqqa's being silently is really focused on right now, because I saw their Twitter feed, and there were a lot of reports about the SDF actually. But are there also other things you're working on right now?
SDF trying to focus on their strategy, focus on their plan.
I mean, Raqqa's being
yeah, but for us, we are focusing on our work. I mean, we are focusing to get information, get news from Raqqa to the world, as we did before, and also we are focusing to help some organizations there to help children and mothers and teachers.
Good. So I recently had a conversation with my Syrian friend, and she actually told me, because she participated in the street protests in 2011, and she told me, like, if I would have known this, that it would be this bad, I would never have done that. Do you sometimes think the same things like she?
No. I feel like if I know that this gonna happen, I mean, war, a lot of groups, ISIS, Qaeda, SDF, blah, 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 I will do it better, but I will join the revolution.
How would you do it better?
I think by trying to find a group, not a military group, I mean a group, political group, to lead the situation.
Okay. So, I think we're almost out of time, but I have a final question. Do you see yourself ever returning to Raqqa?
I hope so, but unfortunately I can't.
Okay. So, let's go to the questions of the audience. I don't know if there are any questions. Yes.
I haven't heard much about the SDF group. Do they want a caliphate as well?
No, the SDF is a coalition partner. They liberated Raqqa. So it's a partner of the... Maybe you can explain that a little bit.
They are partner of the coalition, but they are also partner of Assad. They are getting support from both sides, and they liberated. They liberated the city.
Are they a terror group?
In my opinion, in the opinion of a lot of people of Raqqa, yes, they are terror.
It's like the official partner of the coalition, and they liberated Raqqa in 2017. So they are funded by the United States. So yeah. And they contain, like, I think it's the YPG as well, right? Members of the YPG, the Kurdish forces, like, affiliated with the PKK.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, a lot of European countries are now worried of, like, as you said, the ISIS ideology coming here and being brought from Syria. Do you have any ideas what governments here can do to kind of fight that narrative and kind of talk it out of people's minds? Like, do you have any ideas for the governments here? What would be a good idea for people that are brainwashed kind of to understand the other side of the story?
Actually, like, the ideology of ISIS, or the ideology of those people was before in Europe, because when the ISIS started in Syria, there is a lot of people came from Europe to Syria to join ISIS. So the ideology is here already. So what the government can do, they can do a lot of things. For example, they can working with some refugees, working with people who has experience with those groups, and also working with people who already believe in the ideology. So they can trying to let them know, like, not all people against Muslims, and it's also not against the Khilafat. It's not against the idea. We are against, like, the action, what they did. I mean, yeah.
What do you expect will happen after Idlib? Do you expect that Assad will try to liberate the Kurdish areas or to fight the Kurdish parts of Syria?
Actually, Assad, like as I said before, he is a partner of the SDF, and he will do everything to control the areas like Kobani or the others. So he will do everything. I mean, he will kill Kurds people, Kurd civilians. He didn't care about them. he did that before. So he will, I think.
I have an additional question, because is there proof that the Assad regime is a partner of the SDF? Because on paper it's that...
Yes. Like they are working together in Al-Hasaka. It's a province in Syria. They have like here center of SDF and beside him the center of Assad. And they are making a lot of meetings between them. Even now SDF give Assad control of the main dam, Al-Furat Dam in Tabqa city. And they give him also the big hospital in the area to control it.
But it's like undercover, right? Or not? Or is it like all out in the open? Because I cannot like really imagine that America and Assad are like supporting the same group.
They are supporting. Like we saw this.
Or working together.
Yeah. You can go to Aleppo, for example, in Sheikh Maqsoud and Al-Ashrafiyya, SDF there, YBG there, like control the area, and you will see Al-Assad photo in the streets. So they are the same, not all of them. I mean, the leaders of SDF, the leaders of YBJ are really working with Assad. And the United States and the coalition know that.
At the back there. Sorry, at the back.
Hi. You compare ISIS with SDF, but I was wondering, like, how are they different, and what does this mean for you working? How you work? Like, how do you work now, different from 2 years ago?
Like, to compare ISIS with SDF, like, there is a lot of different things. Like, there is no executed people on the streets, but they executed him in the jails. And you cannot see a lot of like hits in the street, but you can see it in the jails. I mean, that is different, but for people it's more like easy to work with SDF than ISIS, because ISIS, they will like, they didn't let you, for example, smoke, drink. You can do that with SDF. So the main thing is what SDF did with people who didn't believe in their ideology, people who are really against them.
But it's really, sorry for interfering, but it's really a severe accusation. So how do you get your information about those things, about the executions, for example, in jail you just mentioned? Do you hear it from people over there? Like,
of course, and I know people who got killed in the jails. Like, for example, we publish it, a guy who's really against Assad. He was against Assad, and when ISIS came, he was against them. And when SDF came, he wrote on his Facebook page, "I'm not like a supporter of Öcalan. I'm not with you, and I will fight you with my posts, with my camera." And he was in the jail for 2 months, and then he got killed.
Okay. So, a final question, maybe, right? Yeah.
Hi, I have a question going a bit back to the beginning of the conflict. I always wonder, do you think that at the beginning, when it was still really just the demonstrations and then the civilians fighting against Assad, if the West would have supported sufficiently with training, with weapons, with and everything possible, would we avoid ISIS? Would we avoid all that Islamistic? And would the civilians fighting against ISIS, would they be able, do you think, to beat Assad and make a real freedom, bring freedom to Syria?
I think if the coalition or the international community support the revolution from the first moment, and when in 2011 or 2012, there is like it will be no ISIS, no Al Qaeda in Syria, because a lot of people didn't know that Assad released the leaders of ISIS, of Al Qaeda from his jail in August 2011. He released them, and then after a month they make a lot of Islamic groups, radical group, I mean. Yeah, he used them, as I said, he used ISIS and those groups as a weapon.
Like 1,100 I read, right? 1,100 people were released back then. Yeah, not a lot of people know that, that's true. Do we still have time for another question? Yes? Okay. There are no questions. No? Okay. Well, then I would like to thank you. And thank you for participating at the Night of the Dictatorship. If you have further comments or questions, I would be happy to join you at the bar. And hopefully see you again at the Balie. Thank you.
Thank you.